In this video, we're going to talk about some file management of your Azure DevOps Server items, and we're going to look at how we can rename, move, or delete items once we've checked them in. So starting with moving an item, we can use our Source Control Explorer to move one file or folder at a time. And you should note that don't use the Source Control Explorer to move folders or files that are referenced by your Visual Studio project or your solution. You should open those, go into your Solution Explorer, and then move those items, or otherwise you're going to break those file linkage connections that are taking place in that solution, and then your solution is not going to be able to find those files anymore. That's going to break your project and make you very sad. So really, if you've put the like an item under the wrong project, as you can see, I have multiple projects here. So let's say I put bowling scores 2 in assignments when I really meant to put it in examples. Now, going back to what we've talked about previously about downloading our work, I can see I have the assignments folder downloaded, but I do not have the examples folder downloaded. And both the source and the destination when moving things have to be downloaded to your computer. So I'm going to click on this, and I'm just going to use the not mapped. So I'm going to click this link here. I'm going to choose where I want to save it. I'm saving things on my desktop today. We can see that assignments folder I downloaded earlier. And you're welcome to choose where to download your items. I recommend maybe your OneDrive or the documents section of your computer. I'm going to click map. It's going to prompt me for this is what I want to do. Yes. And do I want to download those now? Yes. And so now map or examples is highlighted in white. I can see the local path here in the mapped section. And now I'm ready to move my bowling scores folder. So I'm going to right click on bowling scores and I'm going to choose move. And then I can browse for the location where I want to move it. So I want to move it under examples. And so it'll show you the source and the destination. And then it will move that item for me. And it will do so not only here in the Source Control Explorer, but it is actually doing it inside of the folders. So if we go look at the assignments folder, I see it is missing from here. But if I look at the examples folder, it's been added to here. And that goes back to the requirement of needing to be sure that we have downloaded those folders and mapped them to a location on our computer before we attempt to move anything. Next, let's look at how we can rename an item. So if I want to take the 2 off of my bowling scores here, maybe that was an accident, I can right-click and rename. And then you can see I get an edit to be able to rename this, change it to what I want, and then click enter, and it will rename that item for me. Now I do want to note that things like moving and renaming, these are pending changes. We can see our pending change window is open over here, and that we have our items, which we have moved an item and renamed an item, ready to be checked in. Now these changes, you can see them, they're taking place here on your computer, but in order for those to be reflected on the server, and again, be reflected on anyone else's computer where they have access to this project, or for your instructor, you have to check those changes in. So I'm going to say moved and renamed the bowling scores project, right? That's what I did. I can check that in. And it will update the location and the name of my project on the server. So if I go check that in the web interface, I will now see that that change has been made. So next, let's look at how we can delete an item. So we can delete files and folders from our Azure DevOps Server. We can also restore them from our workspace on our dev machine or from the server. So let's say I want to delete my sample app. And so I'm going to right click on my sample app and I'm going to choose delete. And that's going to mark it for deletion. So you can see the little red X that is shown up here. we can see that this is now a pending change, right? And my sample app is crossed out here in the included changes list. Now note, when you delete something from your Azure DevOps Server, you're going to delete it for everybody. So once this is checked in, it's going to delete it from your computer, it's going to delete it on the server, and anyone who pulls their pending changes for that project, it's going to delete it for them as well. So please make sure that you understand what you're doing and the implications and consequences before you delete an item. So I'm going to make my comment. I'm going to check that in. And then once that is processed, we will see our sample app has been removed. And it's also gone on the server. So if I go to my web interface and I go to my repos, now I only see bowling scores here under my examples project. Now, if you have used the Source Control Explorer here to delete items from Visual Studio, they are moved to the recycle bin on your computer where they can be restored. So once restored from the recycle bin, right-click your solution, select Add Existing Item, and you can restore that item to your solution or reopen it in Visual Studio and re-add it to your source control if that's what you have decided to do. You can undo a delete from the server provided no one on the team has destroyed it, essentially emptied the recycle bin on the server. But I do caution you to be careful when deleting items and make sure that you've talked that through with anyone who has access to the collection and project before you do so. So I hope you've enjoyed this video. In the next video, I'm going to start to talk about how to use the source control history and revert to or move back to previous commits if you feel like you need to maybe revise some of your check-in history.